Next on our agenda is 6.12, a presentation of Food Policy Council activities and strategic plan. B, consideration of Food Policy Council bylaws. C, consideration of Food Policy Council MOU with the Lake County Community Foundations. And D, reopen application process to fill Food Policy Council members. Supervisor Sabatier, you sponsor this, so want to introduce?
Thank you very much, Chair. We have Rebecca Harper from the Farm Bureau coming up, as well as Greg Damron from Blue Zones. As you'll remember, Blue Zones has been the leading agency for this committee. This committee has been hard at work for...
Too long.
I'll leave it at that, too long. But we are very excited to present to you what has been accomplished so far in hopes to really start gaining steam and taking action in the upcoming months and years. And Rebecca Harper will be presenting our status and our action so far.
Awesome. There we go. Perfect.
And that should be the latest version.
Yes, great. Yeah, I noticed there were some formatting issues with the earlier version. So anyways, we have, just as some background, like Bruno said, been working at this Food Policy Council development for quite a while, which stemmed from, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bruno's participation in the California Women for Agriculture Ag Venture program. He left with some questions about how we could build a more food resilient community from both the consumer and producer standpoint. So we started tossing around some ideas and recruiting some of the folks who had been involved in similar efforts in the past and other folks who might be knowledgeable in the area. And so as part of that, Greg kind of got looped in similarly to the way that I was, and we started working on this. So it's been a while. We've been mostly tossing around ideas up until this point, but now we're really at a crossroads of developing a clear purpose, vision, getting our bylaws set in stone, and then having a strategic plan to make sure that this effort is sustained into the future and doesn't fizzle out like previous iterations have. So with that, you should have the bylaws as well as MOUs and other documents attached to the agenda. I'm not going to read them to you, but I will just cover some highlights. So purpose and vision. The purpose of the Food Policy Council is to advance sustainable solutions for Lake County's local food and farm economies so that growers and eaters can thrive. And so, when we talk about food, usually we talk about it from a consumption standpoint. And so as the Food Policy Council, we've really tried to emphasize the importance of producing local food and making sure that we have sustainable market channels for our producers to sell their products through, and that also, locals can benefit from the food production that does occur in Lake County. So the vision for the Food Policy Council would be that Lake County has a resilient and abundant food system where nutritious, locally produced food is accessible to everyone, fostering self-reliance for our community. So as was mentioned in the presentation that just concluded, Lake County is a pretty isolated community. And so not only does that put our citizens at risk, during times of emergency like wildfire, but it also, there's a food component to that. And so we want to make sure that our citizens have as best of a chance as we can provide to be sustainable if an emergency does cut off access to outside resources. And so that's definitely a big component of that. The other part of that is Lake County is what I would call a resource abundant community. So in terms of monetary resources, of course we have some low income affected areas, but we have a lot of land. And so we can capitalize on that by, working on some initiatives and other things that will make it easier for people to grow food in Lake County and to get their products to markets and be successful. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Yeah. So here's just some of the values of the Food Policy Council, kind of buzzwords that were thrown around throughout the development of our strategic plan. So the Lake County Food Policy Council will be essential for addressing food insecurity, supporting local agriculture, improving public health, fostering collaboration, and building resilience. Its establishment represents a proactive step towards a healthier, more connected, and sustainable food system in Lake County. So instead of working on all of these issues individually in silos, addressing food security on its own, addressing public health on its own, and supporting local agriculture on its own, we kind of tried to take a holistic view here and look at how they're all look at how all of these different kind of pieces of the puzzle are connected and how we can work on them simultaneously to bring the most benefit to each area. So some of those key values include resilience, knowledge, trustworthiness, fairness, partnership, connection amongst our industries, innovation, and relevance. So again, we have lots of opportunity in Lake County, and so we'd like to see how that opportunity can work for us. Great. So as I previously stated, Lake County is an agricultural county that has experienced some decline in agricultural productivity and related industries, particularly around food production. So the Lake County Food Policy Council aims to turn this trajectory around with an innovative and comprehensive plan for our food systems. Focusing on climate resiliency, disaster preparedness, economic development, cultural and health priorities. So like I said, lots of different aspects at play here. So this little timeline here kind of highlights some of our goals as outlined in the strategic plan. So those goals being to strengthen local food infrastructure, to build food systems workforces, enact supportive zoning and policy. And so these are three of the goals, at least to me, that kind of stand out as part of our strategic plan. So here's a little bit of a timeline. As you'll see, it doesn't have specific dates and times, but kind of step by step how that would look for us. So build necessary equipment and infrastructure for local food production, processing, distribution, and food waste recovery. One of Bruno and I's initial conversations was around what we could do to promote more local food production. And my background is in animal science. So I told Bruno, if you want more people to raise beef cattle or goats or, whatever meat production there is, there has to be a way for it to process it. And quite frankly, we have lots of wonderful local, smaller scaled USDA licensed facility, but there really isn't anywhere that you could have meat processed on a larger scale. And if you're going to get into ag, you have to be able to have those economies to scale. And so to me, that's a really big part of it, is developing local food production and processing facilities. So that's kind of step one. But with that, you have to also grow market channels, right? If we can grow that food and we can get it processed, but there's nowhere to sell it, that's not going to work out. And then we'd also like to provide support to growers and food and farm workers, expand school-based food production. That's an interesting one. School-based food production is an area that we do have some growers in Lake County connected in, but there's certainly more opportunity to utilize schools as an area, and also hospitals, Angela's here, as market channels for some of our agricultural products. And then also expanding food systems education opportunities. So this idea, I don't know if you've heard, there's lots of statistics, but only 1 to 2% of the United States population is involved in food production, and that's a number that's changed drastically within just a couple of generations. And so really looking at how do we close that gap, how do we inform not only our youth but some of our older populations kind of the power of food and supporting your local ag economy. And then finally, strengthen partnerships and networks. So the idea that we're stronger when we work together, right? I think everybody is connected to food, and if you eat and wear clothes, you're connected to ag. So making sure we have good networks and partnerships in place. I think since the formation of the council, we've already done a really good job at getting connected. So only up from here. And then also strengthening food access infrastructure and policy. So that's an area that actually I've learned quite a bit more about through the Food Policy Council's life so far, and that we actually have quite good infrastructure for food access in Lake County. And so working with the Gleaners and other community organizations that work specifically in that area, there's opportunities for continued partnership into the future. And then also really important is food policy. I think also going back to some of the initial conversations that we had was like, okay, we want to support farmers and ranchers in Lake County, and we think we're an ag-friendly community, but does our policy reflect that? And so really kind of digging deeper and having some tough conversations at times about what being an ag-friendly county looks like, and, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk in terms of ag-friendly policy. Next slide. So again, more of those goals, use zoning and planning tools to facilitate local food system development. This really ties into that policy component of being ag-friendly in Lake County. Foster strategic collaboration to achieve strategic plan goals and actions. So we've built a system of partners and have a good network. Now, how do we put it to work? And then ensuring adequate long-term support for Food Policy Council. So if you've been involved in county leadership, you probably know there's been multiple iterations of similar projects, and we don't want to be just another iteration. We'd like to be a longer-term, more sustained effort. So also conducting evaluations and measurements to track progress. If we can't measure our success, then we've got some issues. So we want to make sure that we're set up to do that throughout the progress that we've made. And then keeping the community and decision makers aware and informed. I think I see this a lot. There's so much good work that goes on in Lake County, but if it's not communicated, a lot of our citizens don't have any idea of all of that good work that's happening. And so we want to make sure that we're sharing the work that's been made so far, and the work that we're going to continue doing in the future. Great. So strategic plan implementation. To ensure effective and timely execution of the strategic plan, we will confirm a fiscal agent for 2025 grants and contracts, which is kind of outlined in the documents you have attached to the agenda. Identify long-term backbone organization for the Lake County Food Policy Committee, and then establish an MOU with Blue Zones Project as the lead support for the group for now, and then appoint Blue Zone staff to Lake County Food Policy Council membership and support role. So these are all of those items that are going to get us set up to carry out our mission in the future. Bylaws, pretty similar to other committees. The council will have members that include representatives from various organizations and interests across Lake County. There will be co-chairs appointed by the council members, and an executive committee that includes co-chairs, designated staff, and standing committee reps to guide council activities. So the makeup of the council, as currently written in the bylaws, which there's been some discussion regarding potentially changing this in the future to make sure that we're able to meet quorum and continue the group, which has been an issue in other committees. But the committee will be made up of 11 total members, which will include a chair, a vice chair, and secretary, which will be appointed each January. And then the chair facilitates the meetings, the vice chair fills in as needed, and a secretary that records meeting notes. So pretty standard, nothing really outside of what you've seen with other committees. This goes over some of the nitty-gritty of the bylaws. Again, very similar to other committees. I won't go into this too much unless you have any questions. But yeah, this is all outlined in the bylaws. So, Memorandum of Understanding with Blue Zones Project. We've been very fortunate to have Greg and Blue Zones Project support from really the beginning of our conversations. And as you all know, Blue Zones Project has been such an asset to Lake County, and it's been no different as part of the Food Policy Committee. So the Lake County Food Policy Council will develop an MOU with Blue Zones Project that will formalize Blue Zones Project role as the lead support agency, and will allow Blue Zones to continue with staff coordination and support, strategic guidance, and operational assistance. And then once the MOU is executed, this role would be recognized in an official agreement. I kind of sped through everything. I hope it was thorough enough. Greg is here to provide some more details kind of regarding the bylaws and the strategic plan, which Blue Zones was kind of the primary on. So yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
You want to add anything else?
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much for letting us come here. To answer the earlier question, we started in September of 2023, and previous iterations of these efforts follow the typical lifespan of nonprofit fiscal sponsorship. You'll get a grant that allows for the development of the council. That grant sunsets, and then there's turnover. We try to do something different this time, and that was to establish this and link it to a committee connected to this body. And also, Blue Zones Project it's not a nonprofit. We're a company, and through the generosity of Adventist Health, we're able to provide probably over $100,000 of technical assistance and in-kind dollars to do this process. Our council, of which we have a number of representatives here today, Tammy Alexei, I don't know if I can pronounce your name always correctly, Angela Frazier from Adventist Health, and then we have Catherine Vanderval, Commissioner, and we have a number of other member or organizations represented. The idea with this was to create an organic process, let the team, most of whom have worked together for many years and know each other, come into an action-oriented and problem-solving initiative, and then develop structure. We Blue Zones invested in a pretty substantial development plan. Great timing, right? Because if you look at the federal line items of many of those grant sources, we don't know what the outcome of those are. But anyways, we're working through that, and it just reemphasizes the importance of sustainability and planning and working together in a changing environment. So that's the gist. So Bruno, or questions?
Yes,
or
no,
yeah.
Did you have something else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just add one of the questions that I've received from members of the ag community, but also members of the public, is how is this different than the Ag Advisory Committee? And so I think that's an important thing to discuss. Ag Advisory Committee usually is used in response to issues. And as Greg had mentioned, we really want this to be a proactive effort to look at some of the longer term questions and use funding opportunities to our benefit, and really focus on food and local production in Lake County. So just wanted to mention that is a question that we have received, and I think there's some very obvious reasons why it's a different effort.
Thank you for clarifying that. Supervisor Sabatier and then Supervisor Owen.
So I'm sorry it took so long to get to this point, but we've had some great discussions, made some great relationships with a lot of different agencies that are very interested in making this happen. The food policy, out of that in the past, the NCO, Mendel Lake Food Hub has come out of that. A while ago, the co-op, the food co-op came out of this, and other iterations created long-term projects and solutions that have assisted and made impact on Lake County, and we hope to do the same. Our strategic plan, in my personal opinion, is very much shooting for the moon, but if we can get anywhere close to what we're looking to get and achieve, we will be in a better position. To me, food was the important choice to focus on. There is so much that relates back to food and why we need to increase our food production. This does not touch vineyards, this does not touch cannabis, this does not touch other types of agriculture that is not food specific related. And we are seeing a decrease and also an aging population in those that are involved in food production, not just here in Lake County, but throughout the country as well. And the more we can position ourselves to be more resilient and self-sustainable, the better off we will be in the future. And so I think this is exciting. I'm really glad that my very first conversation, Rebecca completely swerved me into the left direction that I was not heading in the original place. I said, I want more farmers. And she said, well, how about more markets? And that's when Blue Zones fit the bill. Blue Zones is pledging with other businesses and agencies such as Adventist Health, Canocta Unified School District, Foods, etc., to focus on health and food, and we are making those connections right now. Adventist Health is currently seeking food to provide to their employees, and if our farmers were available to provide that food today, they would be buying it directly from them. We've made some of those same connections between the gleaners and the farmers that sit at the table as well. So I think one of the most important pieces, of course, today we hope that we can get the approval of the bylaws, but is the MOU with Lake County Community Foundations. I thought we needed to butter up Lake County Community Foundations in order to get them to say yes to become a fiscal agent for us. Greg and I met with them. We buttered them up for 30 minutes and we asked, and it took a 10-second conversation. They said, that's why we're here. We're here to be fiscal agents for the needs of Lake County. And so the way that the relationship would work is they are not getting paid by the county. They are not getting paid by the Food Policy Council. They are going to work with us on which grants to go after in order to achieve the goals of our strategic plan, work together on how to provide that grant funding to contractors or farmers or others in the community to be able to achieve our goals, and just basically working as partners. And I think Lake County Community Foundations offers an opportunity for us to do the work without asking staff, who is always strapped within their own capacities, to do more. And so to us, that was a win-win situation and builds a new relationship as well for sustainability for this program. So I think that, thank you so much for doing the presentation. You did amazing. Thank you both. Thank you all the team that's out there. Really appreciate it. And those that aren't here as well, really appreciate them being at the table.
Supervisor Owen?
Oh, I did just want to add to Bruno's point, you know, I think this is a very, very timely effort. In the last couple of years, we've seen neighboring counties, Sonoma County fighting Measure J, Solano County dealing with the California Forever project. And although it wasn't intentional, you know, I think that there's a culture that we want to establish in Lake County, and that certainly, that this effort certainly takes a step in the right direction. Something else that I also wanted to speak to, like Bruno said, there have been many previous iterations, and that's something that our committee has discussed. Like, you know, are we wasting our time here? Is this going to fizzle out? And my response to that has been, well, you know, maybe in the past we never quite had the right people at the table. And so it certainly feels like we do this time.
Okay. I want to say that this is pretty exciting, and I'd heard about it just not too long ago, and I'm pretty excited for it. So my question was you're putting together 11 board members. Have you selected them already, or do you have like seats for particular things, like one for schools, one for the inputs, for the districts? You know, do you have them already in place, or are you looking to fill those positions?
Yeah, in September of 2023, there were applications made to the Board of Supervisors, and then those were filled. But we've had some organizational turnaround, and we're also just looking at categories. So there are many of the categories that you mentioned are there. We don't have a regional district by district representation at that point, and we're Bruno might be able to speak more to this, but we're grappling with making sure you have a sustainable number so that you can get a quorum, this is voluntary, versus packing it with such an extensive,
Sure.
yeah.
And just to add to that, one of the asks also is for us to clear the slate so we can get new applications, because there has been some alternates that have been showing up, and we want them to be a part of the team, such as Angela, who has joined us in the last 2 to 3 months. She's been amazing. We want her to be an official member. No offense to Don Smith, love Don Smith. He was very helpful in creating the process that we just talked about today. But we want to clean the slate, get new applications, and start fresh with this new action plan and strategic plan in place.
All right. If there's not anything else, I'll open it up to the public. If there's anyone that would like to speak on this.
Good afternoon, Supervisors and Food Policy Council. This is very exciting. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to hear this as a concerned Lake County resident who is committed to sustainability and food security for my neighbors. I want to help. And along those lines, I want to let you know that your Goal 3, Food Policy Councils in your strategic plan enact supportive zoning and policy. As a member of the Lake County General Plan Advisory Committee representative, I'm keenly interested in this topic. And I hope that the Food Policy Council is also interested in a parallel matter, and that is preserving agricultural lands and keeping them in production. Specifically, Lake County is updating its general plan and the local area plans, and some of that work involves recommendations to rezone and to expand community growth boundaries. And so, your support along those lines would be greatly appreciated. In support of your goal 4.4, to get the word out on the good work that you're doing, I have a few suggestions. It would be great if your council agendas included an email address to suggest future agenda items. It would also be helpful to post your minutes and recordings of meetings, or the link to get to those recordings, because we need more hands and heads to work together for food security for our community, and that'd be great, because you are doing exciting work, and it sounds like you are going on to the next level, and let's bring more people along with you. And with that, I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
All good suggestions. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from public? All right, come on up, yeah.
Tammy Alexey, American Red Cross, and part of the Food Policy Council. I just want to say that I'm the one that always raises my hand and says, what? Come on. Emergency food. So I just want to make sure that you know that we are working on emergency food also, and it's addendum number 5, and just leave it at that. I didn't want to go away without mentioning it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Not forgotten.
Joan?
Joan Moss. I think Kelseyville is a really good example of farmers. Kelseyville Grade School has a garden. And I think our legal division could offer stimulus and incentives and take some fines away if people can build their own garden. If people can do something besides get into trouble. If they can put hours in to a garden and learn, I think that we could be at the forefront of new ideas. Giving people incentives and rewards for changing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. All right, come on up.
I'll make this as brief as possible. I just wanted to, number one, thank this board for hearing this and for this team for doing this. Adventist Health is keenly invested in making certain to provide what the earth has to provide here in Lake County to its population, which includes its employees, in addition to its community. So I'm pleased to be a part of that part, especially as you'd mentioned before, and look forward to the outcomes.
Thank you. Oh, did we get your name?
No.
Sorry about that. For the record.
Angela Frazier.
All right, thanks. And any other public comment? On Zoom? Oh, Kyle, if you can unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Bill, I just wanted to, I'm also a part of the Lake County General Plan Advisory Board, and just wanted to also acknowledge and encourage, if it hasn't already been done so, but tribal representation and engagement when it comes to topics, especially like this. Tribes do have resources or potential infrastructure that could benefit, but also engaging tribes to learn more about the lack of infrastructure or the resources necessary to grow our own food. Food sovereignty is definitely something that is well known within tribal communities, but some tribes in Lake County aren't able to grow food from the land because it's been contaminated due to mining. And so some tribal communities aren't even able to grow food safely and consume it safely. And so understanding those impacts, I think, is important so that we can ensure that the resources and the focus can also go toward those communities that have been disproportionately impacted by colonization and capitalism, and how we can work collectively together to ensure that tribal communities are also represented and heard, and also a part of the sharing in resources, because we are still constituents within the county. And we are invested in the general health and welfare of everyone here as well. So I think it's important just to engage, ensuring that engagement to respect tribal sovereignty when it comes to ensuring that we're engaging tribes in a respectful manner when we're doing these things as a collective, because we are a part of the county as well. So I just wanted to voice that, and I appreciate the initiative, and look forward to the work that will come as a result of this committee.
All right, thank you for that. Any other public comment? Okay. Supervisor Sabatier?
And Annette Calamoni is our representative from the Lake County Community Foundations, where we have an MOU. But I just wanted to respond real quick. I appreciate Kyle Bill making a statement. I will say that I have failed in one aspect of this Food Policy Council. We do have a tribal membership seat. We had filled that seat, but we have not been able to engage in the way that we wanted to engage. This is one of the reasons we kind of want to hit reset for a certain different number of seats. I would like to reopen it up so that we can find somebody who truly can engage with us and provide that. And I'm hoping that maybe Kyle Bill, I know you do great work, especially related to healthcare. This is very much related to that, and hoping that maybe there's incentives in there for you to join us and be able to participate in our future meetings. And even then, it's open for the public. Anyone and everyone can join us and be a part of this. But I appreciate the comment, and that's one of the aspects that we all want to do better on.
All right, Annette?
Hi, this is Annette Camaloni, and I'm just so appreciative of Bruno and the Food Policy Council for including Lake County Community Foundation in this plan, and we look forward to working with everybody to make sure that everyone in Lake County is fed. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. With that, I'll close public input, and if there's no one else. All right, bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure and identify, we do have two versions of the MOU with Lake County Community Foundations. The one we're looking to have approved is the titled MOU Food Policy Council and Lake County Community Foundation RV2 revised 2 with the date 6/2/25 on it. What we changed is in section 10, instead of going off the head, I'm going to make sure that I am talking about the correct section. On the section under signature, which is section 10, it should now state this MOU is executed by the undersigned duly authorized representatives of the Lake County Community Foundation, and instead of the County of Lake, it says and the County of Lake Food Policy Council. And within the signature page, instead of it being County of Lake and Lake County Community Foundation, it is now the County of Lake Food Policy Council and Lake County Community Foundation. Your signature will count as the Food Policy Council since we are a committee that has been approved by the Board of Supervisors. Just wanted to provide those changes that were provided by County Council so that we approve the correct item. And I believe, based on at least one of your last questions, it was uploaded on Friday where the revision of this was provided. Is that correct, Johanna? Or I could always just say as amended, and that would cover everything.
That would.
And so with that, I'm going to go one at a time. I move to approve the Food Policy Council bylaws as presented.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 500.
And then I move to approve the MOU with the Lake County Community Foundations version 2 as amended.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 500.
And then I move to reopen all applications and clear the membership of the Food Policy Council.
I second that.
Mr. Chair, just for further clarification, the reference to clearing it would be vacating the current membership positions of the Food Policy Council. That'd be.
Did I miss for the chair to sign on the last one?
It could be, well, on item C, your board can approve it, and at its option, one option is for the, because my understanding is the Food Policy Council has approved this agreement.
Yes.
So certainly a proper representative of that council can sign off on that because the signature field does identify council, but at the same time, the board can also approve it. Now, that would probably be the cleaner way, which then would be consistent with just the motion that just passed.
Okay.
Because the board has given its approval, and then it appears that previously the Food Policy Council, with its current membership, has approved the document as well, so they can sign off on the member of that council, proper member of that council can sign off on that under that item.
So it sounds like we're good to move forward, and I move to vacate the list of membership.
And I second that.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else? All right.
Ask me to present and then kick me off. Wow.
You just used.
We're looking for your application again.
You could be so lucky.
Rebecca, thank you.
Can we have a short?
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so you want a short, we'll take a quick break before we do calendars.